Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Frame This Podcast. I'm Philippe.
My name's Nate.
And today with us, we have Chef Aaron Wilson of Seasoned Delight.
Hello.
Aaron, welcome to the show, and let's get right into it. So, you're a chef. Does that mean you just love food? Is that the reason why you became a chef?
No, definitely not. I love food. Don't get me wrong. I haven't had any meals, so trying to miss a few right now, honestly. Yeah, I've been cooking since I was a kid. Really, the main reason I became a chef or love cooking is people and the love of food and just how it brings people together. And so when I was young, I would stay over at my grandma's during the summer in West Virginia. I'm originally from Ohio. And so my sister and I would kind of take turns. We'd go either together or by ourselves to spend a couple weeks with them. But anytime I was over there, really, I would wake up in the morning, I'd smell bacon cooking, and I would wake up and come in. By the time she's got the bacon started, I come in and help her make the biscuits. So that was one of my first and earliest and overall most significant times cooking, I feel like, when I was a kid. And it spurred me on to do more.
All right.
Just the smell of bacon just gets me going.
Gets you going. Oh, yeah.
My grandmother cooked for my grandfather like every day they were married for over 60 years, I think.
Wow.
So I love how it brings people together and just gathering people around the table and enjoying the company and talking about food, talking about shooting the shit, basically.
Right
Is
on.
bacon like your, not signature, but like your go-to, or do you have something that you like to?
It is my jam because I do like making bacon jam.
Wow. How does one make bacon jam?
Well, honestly, it's funny. Like, I work at a hospital as well, part-time. And so the first time I ever actually made bacon jam, when it was coming on the scene more popularly, or more trendily, I did it on a flat top. I had a bunch of bacon left over from breakfast one day, and they're like, "Oh, can you use this?" I was like, "Sure." And so I literally took the bacon fat, put it on the grill, the crispy bits of bacon, and I did like sliced red onion diced red onion, and I literally just poured sugar over top, like sprinkled sugar over top. And I use recipes, I make recipes, but I tend to cook from the hip. And so, like, if I needed to add more sugar in that instance, I can. I mean, or if I needed to add more ingredients to make it, if it's too sugary or too sweet. But basically, it just kind of comes together, and everything caramelizes together. The sugar cooks into the burger or into the bacon and the onions, and literally just took it off. And I think that week, it only lasted for like 2 hours. Like, as far as like being sold out of it that quickly.
Yeah, I was gonna say quantities probably went pretty fast.
I think I had some pimento cheese that I had made.
Oh man!
Everybody loves the pimento cheese. And
how do you make? What's pimento cheese entail?
So, pimento cheese, my experience growing up was horrible. Like, it was just like this little pasty crap that you bought from Kroger, but you don't buy because, like I said, I'm from the north, so we didn't have really good pimento cheese. So the first few times I made it, I was like, "Oh, this is better than I remember." Because it's just a variation of mayo. Sometimes you add cream cheese, cheddar, and pimentos, like diced pimentos. I've experimented with different.
That's what comes in like the center of like green olives, right?
Yeah. Like, you can get them. You can get them in like the little glass jars in the pickle aisle. But mostly, if you can find peppers, you can just roast them on. I usually just roast them over the gas burner and make it happen like that. But what I like doing is using different peppers. So I'll take chipotle peppers and adobo, take out the adobo, and just kind of grind those up a little bit with a knife or in the food processor before, and then you shred the cheese and just basically you're just folding everything in, and then you adjust. I always put salt and pepper in it, pretty much, definitely pepper, and I usually end up putting red pepper flakes in it as well for pretty much any pimento cheese. One of the best I've made is like this smoked Gouda and sharp New York cheddar. That was really good. I made some. I make some like maybe once a month at work, and then I've made it for clients before, for little parties and stuff.
So I've heard it said that bacon is the best food because you can put it with just about anything and make that food better. Have you had any like exceptions to that rule? Like, has there ever been something where you tried to add bacon to it and it didn't pan out?
Not really. I mean, because I can think, or I've done a lot of sweet iterations with bacon before, and it always turns out pretty good. And I'm sure there's like some things where it just wouldn't make as much sense. But yeah, because I've made bacon ice cream before.
Do you make your own ice cream? Do you have like the
I don't
like the spinny thingy to the churn? There you go.
I've tried the churn before. Like I had the KitchenAid one, but I dropped it and the little cylinder cracked a little bit. But what I usually do is the first time I ever made ice cream was for a client in Ohio, and we got the cream, the egg yolks, and we got real vanilla beans and scraped the vanilla. And it was in Ohio during winter. It was a Christmas dinner party she was throwing for like 15 people. And I just remember after I got paid, I'm like, wow, this lady paid $100 per person basically for what my friend and I did. And I was like, oh, this might work out after all. And I had to stick around in a restaurant. So, but it was like a ton of wine and a ton of good food. I made, like I said, the ice cream, just egg yolks and cream, whip them all together. Like you whip them into a peak and stuff. And then you basically are making a custard with the egg yolks. And after I folded everything together, I froze it for a little bit in the freezer in shallow pans. But then honestly, I just put it in a bowl, covered it up really tight, and put it out. In she had like a little kind of like indoor-outdoor patio with like a screen porch and stuff. And so after I covered it up, I literally just put it outside because it was that cold in Ohio. So.
Oh yeah.
But I also for that dinner, so the menu for that was probably one of the best meals I've ever made. I did rack of lamb, lobster, and shrimp with Parmesan, like drawing a blank, sorry, Parmesan grits basically. And so it's like shrimp and lobster. I
will just contracted diabetes just by hearing about it.
And then
I think everybody listening will after this episode.
So the
go get yourself checked for type 2.
Oh my god.
The rack of lamb was like, it was the first time I had ever cooked a whole rack of lamb by itself. And so I seasoned it up, and it was like a symphony. And like I said, I don't use recipes. I don't usually use timers unless it's for something that I need to, like baking. But so I roasted the lamb. I took a bottle of red wine. I forget what kind of red wine it was. It was just something that they had around. And took beef fat and some of the lamb juice and stuff, and just literally reduce the bottle of wine down and down and down. And then it's called melting the butter. Basically, you're just adding cubes of cold butter in and stirring it in, and it creates like a really freaking good sauce. And it was like just like the perfect purple, like eggplant kind of purple, like Japanese eggplant, like not like the Italian. So more of a true purple. But that, and then with the ice cream, I also did my own ice cream cones.
Wow.
So
How do you do that? Do you roll out the
basically
the dough and like let it?
It's called a tweel. So that's like
a tweel.
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called a tweel cookie or cracker. So I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's equal parts flour, powdered sugar, and water. Super simple. But I mean, I think for the party, I think I ended up with like 20 or 25. And then, but I must have went through like 30 to 35. And someone just, because you have to be so quick when they come out. And I didn't have like the little cone roller. So I was using, like, I think I used a pair of tongs. Oh, I know what I used. I used chopsticks because I had cooking chopsticks at the time. And I would roll them. And you got to be careful not to burn yourself too, because it's stinking hot. So my friend and I, we did that. And then I made like a little chocolate ganache to put in the bottom of them, like you do like with when you have a sundae. And so I did that. It's just like, it was like a super good meal. I made like waffle chips with like a creme fraiche and caviar. And
I think you need to start your own OnlyFans, man, and just talk about your menus.
Literal food porn.
I'd subscribe in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Aaron, you should do, so you know how they have like healthy meal like subscription boxes, like Blue Apron, and what's the other one? I don't, like Freshly or whatever. You should do like the unhealthy subscription boxes. Like
you know what? The first box,
the dessert subscription box.
I would literally just put the ingredients to make my bourbon maple bacon. That has been one of my best and most funnest things to make, and it's simple.
Okay, so is that like bacon slathered with like a bourbon maple dressing, or?
Oh, it's just like a little sauce.
Okay.
It's like you're literally, you always cook your bacon in the oven unless you have like a really good cast iron pan. That's like, for me, number one.
Why?
Just because it gets crispy but still pliable. I like crispy but pliable. Some people like it like streaky or flimsy. Some people like it almost burnt. I like, like we were talking about, there's not really too many wrong ways to do bacon. Even if it's burnt, I can find a way to use it some way.
When you like chop it up and use it in something.
Yeah, it just depends on how burnt it is. If it's like charcoal, okay, just throw it to the dog or whatever. But
yeah.
Dude, my mom burnt like a whole Christmas brunch's worth of bacon once. I was very upset.
I've done a couple sheet pans because, ovens in restaurants or anywhere really are notorious for being uneven. So our bottom oven at work is just like really high. The top oven's really slow. But in the morning, you have to use both ovens for the bacon. And so
you have to watch one tray more than another.
Okay. And I actually use a timer, and then I forget about the ones on the bottom, or the bottom ones get done. So, but for the bourbon bacon, I literally, you can just fluctuate or make whatever you want. But I think I did 2 tablespoons of maple syrup to like a shot and a half of. I use Evan Williams. That's what I use because I that's my everyday drinking bourbon. That because I like bourbon.
Yum.
So I use that. I basically just cooked it in the oven for like 5 or 10 minutes on a lower temperature, to get it almost all the way done,
Mhm.
and then, or on a higher temperature. I'm sorry, and then like 350, and then I just kept on brushing it every 5 minutes after that until it reaches your desired texture.
So like you eat the bacon itself as a stick with the glaze on it.
No, I put it on sandwiches.
Ah, gotcha.
It's good like that. You could, I know chefs and basket people that make bouquets of bacon. To me, that would make a perfect bacon in my bouquet. If somebody was to give me a bouquet of bacon, that would be one of the flavors I'd want. Also, like chocolate and hazelnuts, like dark chocolate.
Dude, yeah, you should do like a gourmet bacon subscription box.
That would be fine. I'm tooling around with subscription boxes, and I've developed a lot of products that I thought would be good. Another simple recipe or how-to is like I literally just take Old Bay, Lowry's seasoning salt, and lots of good pepper. And that's like, if you mix it up in the right proportions, it makes the best like fry seasoning. Because Old Bay by itself is good on fries, but it makes you want more and more and more, which in the restaurant industry is what you're after.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what is the key to like, what was I doing? Yesterday, Bruna got this jar of like those dessert sticks with like chocolate in the middle. They're like wafer sticks with like chocolate. I forget what, like, I don't know what the actual name is. They're like straws. You buy them in like a cylindrical tin.
Yeah.
I forget. I don't know what the actual name of the thing is, but like,
Yeah,
I had so many of them, and I just like, I had to tell her to like just put them away because like they were addictive, man. Like, what is in your experience? What has been like the primary indicator of like an addictive food?
Salt.
Yeah,
And sugar.
Salt, sugar.
there has to be like more than that though. Is it like bite size?
Like, I don't know how to describe it.
Like, why can I eat just like a whole basket of bacon just like in one sitting and not even blink an eye?
Well, it's because like I have those foods like praline pecans, whether it's got bourbon in it or not. I make my own as well, but this one was just like a reduced price jar at Kroger.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I keep on eating them, but it definitely has something to do with like that salty sweet balance. There aren't too many people that don't like that. And then the other flavor is just like that makes your mouth water kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it might not even be the ingredients. It's for different people. It's a memory. Like I said, bacon. That smell of bacon. It does something to me. It makes me react. It doesn't just like gently nudge me. It like, oh, that's
smacks you upside the face with a nostalgia.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter because bacon smells like bacon. But some of it just depends on like different flavor, like seasoning ingredients. Like I know Old Bay has that like blend, and Lowry's has that blend. Lowry's has MSG in it. MSG is a really good thing that I would say most chefs use now.
Also really bad for you.
Well, it's you don't want to just like put it on a spoon and like season your popcorn with it, but there are alternatives, but it's got a bad rap, and there's been so many studies, but it's a good flavor enhancer, which is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So like if I'm frying chicken or if I'm making like a popcorn seasoning, I'll pop a little bit of that in there. But mostly I just like using either a mixture of really good seasonings or spices and toasting them and then because the toasting brings it out a lot of the flavor, and then grinding them immediately, and then I just kind of do it in. I have a spice grinder, and I just kind of mix it in. And then we also make like flavored butters, my wife and I.
Ooh.
And so I don't know
Because
if
butter didn't taste good enough. You can.
I don't know if you got any last year, Nate. We didn't do them this year, but we made 2 different kinds of popcorn tins, basically, for gifts for Christmas.
I love a good popcorn tin.
But the mix was just ridiculous. Like she has discovered a couple of our greatest things. One that I'll get into later, but this one is just like a Cheez-It type cracker, although we use the Aldi brand. Popcorn, pretzels, Chex, like Chex cereal, and a couple of different things that we vary from year to year, and depending on what we can find.
Yeah.
And then we just pop the popcorn, mix it in a huge bowl or in a big bag, and literally just then we do the butter and do like Old Bay for one, and some fresh dill, and usually like a smoky salt, like a smoked salt or a flaky salt at the end, and a little bit of pepper, and then just mix it all up. And like the butter is the best way to do it because it adheres to everything. Oh yeah, it's really good. And then so that kind of thing. And then another addictive quality is that soy or Parmesan as well. Parmesan has that natural umami or MSG flavor, and so that's why Parmesan is like really good on popcorn, especially, or something that your salad or bread just at the end, because it wakes everything else up.
I'm a big Parmesan on salad fan.
Yeah.
Or blue cheese, mostly more blue cheese, but definitely like a crumbly or flaky finish.
Mm-hmm.
So not to get off the topic of food, but what's the best part for you about being in the kitchen?
Well, I think overall my dream scenario is that I get out of bed, whatever time I get out of bed, go into the kitchen, turn on the music, turn on the coffee pot, like grind some coffee, turn on the coffee, and turn on the ovens or whatever else I'm doing, and just cooking by myself at first. And then that's like my personal romanticized version. I love working as a team. I like working. I don't love the restaurant scene.
Okay.
Why? I think it's the pace. Like I'm very creative and very fast and quick-witted when something goes wrong. There's been several occasions where I've either forgot something or I might have burnt something, where I can think on my feet quickly and fix it, or send somebody to the store really quick as a really quick substitute. So I like that aspect of it, and honestly, I like the freedom with my own business, and that's one of the reasons why I'm still at the hospital, because they give me pretty much free range to do what I want. And so that's where I do a lot of the experimenting, because at the end of the day, I don't have to pay for the ingredients, and I can just kind of use it as my own test kitchen. And I've got lots of people that hire me for jobs, and people that will hire me for jobs come out of that. So it's a good proving ground for recipes or ideas. It's basically just like sandwiches, but I do like 2 or 3 salads every day that I'm there. So, salads is one of those things that my wife and I are known for as well when we do parties, or even just going to potlucks, because it's, at the end of the day, it's about seasoning your food. because most people wouldn't even put salt and pepper on their salad or whatever. We usually do salt and pepper, make a vinaigrette or make a dressing, and we usually always put like freshly dried oregano or thyme or something at the end, and but stirring everything up. Yeah, so like salads and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sorry, my internet connection crapped out for a second, so I missed a little bit of that. But to follow up, now, I know when I was growing up, and still today, my mom has a complete aversion to salt.
Mhm.
And I'm like, salt's so important to seasoning and flavoring in food. You don't have to use a lot, but a little goes a long way. And I'm trying to get her, to use a little more salt in things. I normally have to put it in myself because my dad has some health issues that prevent him from having a lot of salt in his diet. So, what's the aversion to salt?
I think people go back and forth on certain things like fats, salt, too much, too little. At the end of the day, those are something our body needs. And flavor wise, it's awesome. Even so, I've worked in nursing homes at different places where people are on certain diets and I have to abide by those. So basically, I'm just kind of, usually I don't have much of a choice. I had to follow what they do. But usually, I use more herbs, more acid. And like I said, I'll use that Parmesan. I'll use something called Nutritional Yeast, which is like basically, forget what it is, honestly, but it's got a moment of popularity to use instead of Parmesan. So that is a lot of times also in my popcorn mixes, nutritional yeast, because it's really, and it has that salty umami kind of flavor, that mouth-watering feel. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to get around low or no salt. Like my wife works in a no salt facility, so they don't salt any of their food, and their food's not very good, but
and it shows.
Yeah, like I said, you need to add either, like I said, fresh herbs, dried herbs, toasted herbs, and like I said, make a butter, make an oil. One of the subscription box kind of ideas is just more personalized, because for me, that's what I like doing. People at work or in the clients, they like that I can remember things about what they like and don't like, and I know their names. It's the little things that make the most difference in clients or customers, view of you and how you are as a chef, in my instance. Sorry, I lost track of what was the question again. Sorry.
Aversion to salt and
aversion to salt. But that's a really good idea, is about using more herbs and herb blends and coming up with different ways to still get a punch to the palate without using salt. But what about no salt blends? Do those
are, some of them are okay. Like I swear by Trader Joe's.
His reaction says it all. They're okay.
I swear by Trader Joe's stuff that they do.
Trader Joe's, okay.
Like Trader Joe's has it's actually called umami spice, and it's just like a dried mushroom blend. And they have garlic and onion powder and whatever else in there. But it's fun to experiment. Like I said, that's what I like doing. So I will get big batch, especially like from places like Ollie's or the Restaurant Depot or somewhere, or Sam's Club. Just get big things of spices. Spend $100, but make big batches, and then you can just give them away as gifts. But what I do is I like the personal touch. That's where I was going. So I like developing specialized spice blends or butters. So one of the things that I've been doing lately is making more compound butters, which is like a flavored butter you could put on. The classic is like the blue cheese type butter, where you're just whipping blue cheese into butter. And you put it on a log basically and cut it, or use an ice cream scoop and scoop it onto the steak before it comes out the table. And so that adds like that fattiness to an already fatty steak. Yeah, it is what it is. But but I made like 5 pounds of cultured butter the other day, because they were if they throw stuff away or they're getting rid of something, I just use it as an experiment time again. So I made basically you're just leaving the cream out.
Okay.
In a jar covered with cheesecloth, and then you're basically just taking it. I use a stand mixer and whip it up, and then the buttermilk kind of separates from the butter, and then you add it to like a big thing of ice water and kind of squeeze it out. So it's super. It's the best butter I've ever made, and I've made butter a few times, but this one just kind of turned out really good. Like you can smell it just melting, and it's almost got that bacony smell. Not in the smokiness way, I guess, but like that, it makes your mouth water when you smell it. Because it's got, I think it's
that's interesting
with the buttermilk that is you're never going to get out 100% of the buttermilk, and so that's why you keep it in the fridge. Normally butter I would leave out, but like if I'm making buttermilk and I know that I didn't get all of the buttermilk out, it will cause it to spoil sometimes or faster. If you leave too much buttermilk in it. And so I've never had that problem, knock on my desk here, but yeah, like the butter I've been using pretty much to cook everything lately. And just like, especially I just melted some, I think last week for popcorn, and it didn't need anything else. Like I think just like the milk solids and the salt that I add, I don't even know if I didn't add too much salt at all. In fact, I don't know that I added any. Yeah.
How big of a role does smell play in your cooking? Because my grandma on my mom's side, she can't smell.
Mm-hmm.
And every holiday we play what did grandma make, because we legit like have no idea what it is. It'll just be some amalgamation of whatever was left in her pantry or whatever. And yeah, it's frustrating.
I think for me, if I couldn't smell it, I wouldn't be able to taste it. So, because everything is really connected. And so like seeing a plate of bacon evokes a memory, but that smell is just so much more important, especially with memories.
Yeah.
And food memories are one of those things where I'm just like, I'm very much into that. And so, things that I remember from childhood when I make it and it turns out well, like it really, gets the emotions flowing, because it's just, it really is like that ratatouille moment where the food critic tastes the ratatouille and it reminds him of his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that movie, that was like the best, for me, the best part of the movie.
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
Just that it's just like it cuts back to his childhood and shows him as a kid, and his mom had made him ratatouille, and it makes him feel some kind of way. And for that, he let the mice cook his food. I'm like, I would not go that far, but
yeah, right. But, have you ever had that with somebody? Have you ever like made somebody something that reminds them of their childhood? Like, where you make a dish and someone goes, like that's exactly how like my mom used to make it, or my grandma used to make it.
Yeah, I feel like I have a few times. I know I have with family. So just with because I know, like, it's funny though, like with the biscuits, like certain things like that, where it's like when I got older or became a chef, I could not make biscuits for a little while to save my life. And I think I was just overthinking it and put it, not just keeping it simple. But one day my mom was visiting and we made it, they were in for my birthday, I think. And we just sat together and made it. And she couldn't cook, really.
Couldn't or can't?
Couldn't.
Okay.
And so, but together we made it happen. And I definitely shed a tear or two just because the biscuits turned out, and we made bacon gravy. And everybody just my dad doesn't eat biscuits for some reason. My grandmother always called him a hillbilly or a redneck or something. They would call each other redneck or hillbilly.
What's your favorite thing to put in biscuits when you make them? Because I know some people they'll like.
Now I use like a combo of lard and butter.
Well, like any extra flavors, like extra biscuit flavors, like not normal biscuit stuff. Like
I like making sweet potato biscuits.
I know some people put like cheddar in their biscuits, or like
cheddar's fine. Well, like because you can go because a scone is basically a biscuit, and so we do like.
Don't let England hear you say that.
Yeah. They can stay on that side of the pond for like here.
Our two English guests will have your head.
Okay. But yeah, so
it's not a scone, it's a scone.
Gosh, look at a sconce. Anyway,
scone missing.
Sconce missing.
Aaron's scone missing.
Again. But no, just like with biscuits, since it means so much to me, I usually don't play around too much. I made some quick biscuits the other day. So like now, when I'm
don't mess with the formula. If it works, don't mess with it.
And a lot of it's like with cooking, especially without a recipe or whatever, is like using your hands. Especially with biscuits, you got to get messy at least one time with it. And so,
only once?
Well, once a day, and so once a week. But yeah, just the biscuits, and then I like making jams for them or flavored honeys. Like most of the time, I don't mess with the actual base of things as much. I do, but I like a biscuit or a piece of toast or a tortilla or whatever.
Who were we talking with, Phil? Was it Jeff? Where we talked to him about like the experimental process and what the feedback loop was like on trying new recipes. We talked with a brewer who makes beer, and he every now and then, once a season or so, they'll try like a unique, like they have a cucumber beer that's actually really good. Like what is the most like, well, a couple of questions. Like what's your experimentation feedback loop like? Like what does that process look like for you from like when you're like have the idea to try something new and then get to find out if it worked? And then what is like the strangest thing you've incorporated into a controversial, I guess, like what's the most like controversial thing you've incorporated into one of your products?
I think I have like I said, I have a pretty good test kitchen kind of mentality while I'm at work. And so a lot of the times what I do is they have a couple weeks ago, they had ordered too much fresh green beans. So I had like 5
No such thing.
5 pounds of green beans. And so I had an empty pickle bucket with brine still in it, like pickle brine. So I literally just took the green beans, tossed them in the brine to make sure they're covered. Well, first I took zested like 4 or 5 lemons and put that in there, put some other fresh herbs in there, some peppercorns, What else did I put in there?
Zesting is where you just like get like scuffs off the heel, right?
Yeah, you're just taking the outer part of the citrus.
Like those callus, like those foot eggs you use on your toes, just with a lemon.
Yeah, only just don't go back and forth. That would be nasty.
Gotcha.
Cool. Anyway, whoa.
When did we start talking about foot fetishes? That's for a different episode.
Foot fetishes with Bill.
Yeah.
That's for when we get Tarantino on the podcast.
Please continue about your pickling of fresh green beans.
What people don't understand is
foot scrubbing your lemons.
Oh my.
There's a pumice in my hummus. You're welcome. Anyways,
that's the soundbite, everybody.
Oh my god.
So you can reuse pickle juice.
Gotcha.
It's
because it's just a preservative, right?
It's just, the commercial ones are a little crazier and they're mostly heat treated and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So quick pickles, you can just.
What do you mean by heat treated?
Like they pour the brine. They heat up the brine to like a rolling, like a simmery boil kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pour that over the vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And then
does that make it go faster?
Yeah, it's like an instant pickle, quick pickle. Gotcha. That's what I use a lot if I'm if I don't have time, or if I'm just making pickled onions for like tacos and stuff, which I do a lot.
That's a really good topping.
Yeah, onions. I mean pickled onions and like pickled beets like that are really good.
Not so much a fan of the beets.
Oh man, beet goes on, baby.
I can't do it.
Yeah, so
maybe I just had a bad formative experience with beets. My grandfather loved them. It was disgusting.
We've talked about this before, and I think it's one of those things. That's one of my challenges. If somebody says they don't like something,
challenge accepted.
Love to make something that goes on board with that. So
you can try me out on Brussels sprouts any day.
Okay.
Not a fan. Still haven't.
A lot of the feedback I get from a lot of the feedback is pretty instantaneous from people at work or. So my biggest food critic is my wife, and so she has a really even just better. She has a better,
okay, no, hold on a second.
Yeah, just the food.
Nate, have you tried baked Brussels sprouts though? That's where I can do Brussels sprouts.
Well,
Brussels sprouts and something about them.
It's called bacon fat Brussels sprouts, kosher salt and pepper, and garlic at the end when they come out.
Okay.
They get a little charred and stuff, and then you just toss them with the garlic, the hot oil. Like,
okay, thank you.
It does what?
It makes the garlic come alive. So it's like a nice garlicky. Most people like. I think I saw a meme a while ago, like saying, "Oh man, whatever you're smelling smells like the best thing in the world," and
it's like garlic, onions, and butter.
Garlic, onions, and butter, and it is. It's the bacon of aromatics. They don't call them aromatics for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So like my wife, just like, so one of the things that I've experimented with is like pestos. Like traditional pesto is basil, Parmesan, an acid like lemon juice, and salt, pepper, and olive oil. And I don't think I forgot anything. No. So you're just kind of crushing those together. And I remember, I think it was for a client or for a party we were doing, or I think it was just for dinner the first time. She made cilantro pesto. And we had ended up
instead of basil.
Yeah, so it was cilantro. I think it was still olive oil. Oh, and pine nuts. I'm sorry, pine nuts. It's all some kind of nutty kind of flavor. But instead of using pine nuts or any other kind of nut, we used macadamia nuts because that's what we had on hand.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, but it was the best, one of the best pestos. And so I use that as a base for my catering chicken salad or my catering slaw, because I have a Southwest kind of bent in my cooking and my how I go and how I like to cook. So I'll do cilantro pesto, a little bit of mayo, or I'll use the cilantro pesto even better to make mayo.
So what about the
about to
Southwestern
ask that.
cuisine palette, beat you to it, Nate, that you enjoy so much that you have to incorporate into everything that you do?
The heat, the brightness of the acid, like I love, like if I could make enough money chopping cilantro and limes and like cooking garlic and oil and stuff like that and making stuff with those ingredients, I would sit there at a table all day and just chop all those things and squeeze the limes and squeeze the citrus and zest them all, because that right there is like what I would put on a steak after it's
Okay.
done. So you get a steak off the grill or off the season a pan, and it's all nice and charred. And then what you do is you rub whatever stuff you want on the cutting board, and then as you're slicing it, it gets all up in there. And so what most chefs do is they'll do like a
That is a really good.
oh yeah.
I'll have to keep that in mind.
So what I would do is I would take garlic cloves, a little bit of olive oil, cilantro leaves, just kind of pick them off the stem. You can use the stem. I always use the stem in pestos, especially, of course. And then you're just kind of like, then you pour like kosher or like a flaky salt, and then you just run the flat part of your knife over it and smash it all together, and then just like put the steak after it gets out of the pan and let it rest on all of that stuff, and it's just it's not even going to make it to the table once you start slicing it. Because I have what's called the chef's cut, or we in the restaurants we call it Scooby snacks. And so I always take like the undesirable piece or the first piece, just to taste it. And that's usually for a steak, that's the end piece. And like on a ribeye, like a bone-in ribeye, which is probably one of my favorites, especially if it's charred correctly, and with that garlic and that oil. Oh, and I don't know if I said lime zest and juice, honestly. Squeeze the lime over the steak after. But the zest and the garlic and the cilantro and the olive oil will alone, no matter what you did to it during the cooking process, just salt and pepper is usually what I do. And it's there. It's like restaurant quality food right in front of you. Give me a baguette, I'm done. Or a tortilla.
So, are you more critical of restaurants as a chef?
I am not critical of restaurants.
Has that not ruined your restaurant going experience?
No, because like if I go to a restaurant, it's either stupid crap that I would eat just because it's convenient, like a fast food burger or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I don't normally eat, but like my day off, I don't feel like cooking right now. I'll cook later. So I'm going to go to Wawa or I'm going to go to McDonald's and I'm going to get myself a crappy double cheeseburger and some fries and call it a day, and then throw away the bag before my wife sees it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so like a lot of it's guilty pleasures and just stuff that I don't really even like. And to me, that's like one of my weaknesses, where it's just like habits that I from a bygone past. But as far as restaurants, I am always the best critic, I guess. Like even if it's
you don't care as much, you're just there for the experience.
Yeah, and I'm there because I tend to try to go to better restaurants. I tend to try to go to more expensive restaurants.
So you avoid the chain restaurants.
Yeah, mostly. Like the only chains we go to is I think Chick-fil-A and like Jimmy John's when we're like going to Baltimore, Ohio to visit family. We'll stop and split a Jimmy John sub because it's convenient, and I don't feel like cooking anything to go on the road. That's one thing.
Have you ever been to Jimmy's famous seafood in Baltimore?
I believe so.
Hell yeah.
I know we've been to a couple of good places in downtown Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore is a good food town, but honestly, Richmond is a great food town. Like, we've got some of the best chefs in the country, honestly. Some of them I'm like, I can't afford yet. I'm like, there's a place called Long Oven that's pretty famous. It got, right before the pandemic, it got best new restaurant by Bon Appetit. The guy's from originally, I think he's from here, but he was a big catering chef in New York and worked for one of the biggest firms in the country, I think, and ended up coming back here. But he has a tasting menu. Before the write-up, I think it was like $85 for the tasting menu, and now I think it's...
What's a tasting menu?
So a tasting menu is... it's usually in the 80 to 100 range. Sometimes you can get a small, like, 5-course one for like 50, 75, something like that per person, not including wine. So, for example, Long Oven they do smaller courses, but it's more of an experience. So instead of going to McDonald's or even something like an Italian, like, food place, like a pizza place, you spend maybe half an hour. It's more of an experience. You go there for a couple hours or longer. So I forget how many courses theirs are, but they also have a bar bites menu. Right now, I think they're doing, like, you order ahead basically, and so the bar bites are.
Where is it? Is it downtown?
It is within like 10 minutes of where I live. It's not very far. And like I said, I have the chef had a book written about him and about their experience called Hot Box, and it was really freaking good. It was probably one of the few books that I've read cover to cover with tenacity. But so it's like a coursed menu. It's usually anywhere from 8 to 12 courses, sometimes longer.
I didn't even know there were that many courses.
Do I need to dress up in knight's armor or?
I would dress up for sure.
Chainmail with the tunic over myself.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
We might, maybe if it's like a chainmail blazer, you can get away with it.
Okay.
Or maybe like a chainmail tie. That might be nice. And then you can match your chainmail earrings.
Do a little.
Just mail it in. Yeah. Connect it.
Yep.
So like the best.
It's like a wallet chain for your face.
So like the best restaurant in like one of the best restaurants in this part of the air on the East Coast is called the Inn at Little Washington, and it's in Little Washington, Virginia. I first found out about it through my father-in-law because him and some clients dropped like $800 on dinner and wine for like 3 or 4 people.
No big deal.
$800.
Yeah. So there's like a star system created by the Michelin Man, basically.
Yeah.
We've heard of it, but they just got 3 stars this past year, I think. They had a documentary done on them and everything. Yeah. I highly recommend the documentary as well.
How many 3-star restaurants are there in Virginia?
Probably less than 10, I think. There's 3 or 4 in DC area. I can't remember if I feel like there's one in that area, like Stanton area, that either got like an honorable mention kind of deal or something like that. But for the most part, Little Washington's it in Virginia. But like I said, there's tons of great food. Like I don't really use the Michelin guidebook to, of course, there are places like the Inn at Little Washington that are a destination, and Noma and Copenhagen. But that trip for Danielle and I, for my wife and I, would cost, I would say, a solid $3,000 for a week. So, between airfare.
Okay. I was like Copenhagen,
Denmark.
Denmark. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It usually it's either usually number 1 or 2 in the world. And they have like a huge experiential, like they have a full blown out test kitchen where they ferment everything. They do things that, make me dream bigger.
A gastronomic paradise.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like some of the things I'm just like, that looks amazing.
I just cooked bacon. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. And so I think that's like 5 or it's a lot of money, that place, because like I said, between eating out a couple of different places on the daily and getting around Copenhagen, because I did map it out, just as this might be a good 40th birthday present.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's literally once in a lifetime.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I also try to go for restaurants where if they have several restaurants and they're either a celebrity chef or they're known for something, I try to go to their cheaper kind of bar or their bar area, because you can always find, a lot of times you can find happy hour deals, or if there's a chef over in the bar, you can be like, hey, what's something that you could make me that's like something, that's not, kind of off the menu.
Right.
So that's what I like. I like off the menu kind of stuff. And so that's what I try to incorporate into my business and into my, even my time at work. And I honestly, weirdly enough, like to run little psychological experiments. So like, you put heat lamp or burgers and cheeseburgers under heat lamp, for instance, people will always 9 times out of 10 grab the cheeseburger at the back. You know what I mean? Because they think it's the freshest. And so what I do is I put a double cheeseburger up front.
Okay.
And then I kind of like play Russian roulette with the burgers, almost, like as far as like which one's the best. And so I just kind of watch, and I've told a few people about that. And so now more people grab the front burger. And I'll kind of like wink at them and be like, that's a good choice there, sir. And then later they'll be like, oh, that was so good. And so, I'll do like little experiments like that. Because
Nate, are you hungry? Has this conversation about food made you hungry?
A little bit.
Because you've exited the interview twice now.
No, that was to pee.
Okay.
Thanks for that information.
Well, there have been a couple of times where we've had to end early because I really had to use the bathroom. I'm like, this is interesting, so I don't want to do it.
Yes, you've taken one for the team. Aaron, which nationality in the world is most proud of their cuisine?
France.
And who's a dick about it? There
Germany.
you go.
France is definitely a dick about it. even French Canadians are dicks.
Really? All they got is poutine.
Yeah, but that shit's good though.
It is good. Poutine's great.
Phil is French Canadian. That's why it's funny.
Yeah. It literally is that French mindset of like, we're better than you, especially when it comes to food and wine. And it's like
food, wine, culture. Can't win in anything else. Just food, wine, and culture.
They did invent a sport around running away.
Well, on a random note, without wine, a dinner at Noma costs $300 as of right now.
Is Noma that restaurant in Copenhagen?
Yeah, and then I think the Inn at Little Washington is like $185.
Is that American dollars for Copenhagen?
Yes, that's the translated. or whatever it's called.
So 600 euros. No, backwards.
Currency.
It's 150 euros.
So the French are most proud of their food.
Yeah.
Italians are also pretty proud of their food.
Yeah, but in a less Frenchy way. They're more like, hey, this thing is good. Like, you only do, and they're more traditionalist as well. And so some of the things that I do, they would just be like, oh, I'm going to kill you because you added this.
Loads your revolver with pasta.
Yeah. And it's little things like I've noticed, like if you have a more pronounced cooking tradition, you're more proud of it, or you're more ensconced in it. And so,
what is the biggest no-no in the culinary world?
Poisoning someone with your food?
Well, yeah. Well, it depends on who it is.
Or peeing in it.
Is this waiting now?
We watched Fight Club the other night.
That's why all the French royalty and European royalty had food testers.
Yeah.
And court jesters.
So yeah, what is the biggest no-no as a trained chef?
At times it's been cheese with seafood.
Okay. So trends come and go.
Well, that one's an oldie and a goodie.
Okay.
Most of the time I agree.
So no cheese with seafood.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to be a lot of times I like to be a sarcastic asshole. I mean it in the best sense of the word. I'm not mean with it. It might come across as mean sometimes, but most of the time I just like to have fun in the kitchen or just sitting here like we are, and that's where I go. That's my happy place. Along with a coffee pot in the kitchen, that's my happy place. Just sitting, eating a good meal and drinking some beers or drinking some bourbon or scotch.
So Parmesan and Alfredo with shrimp is a no-no?
Yeah, it's because that's like very American.
Gotcha. Add cheese to everything.
You would definitely not see shrimp Alfredo. Pretty much anything Alfredo, because it's probably called. Well, it's called Alfredo, but it's like, yeah, it's so
White
much
sauce.
Yeah, the white sauce. But
very nice.
Yes. I don't know too many faux pas. Like, I know things don't go with certain things. So if I see somebody doing something, I'm like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that. Let's take a step back. Let's not oversalt that. Let's not over.
It's for your own taste buds good.
Yeah.
You'll thank me later.
Yeah, just like grab a slice of lemon, squeeze that on. It'll be fine. There was another question you asked after that, and I just remembered what it was.
So if you flew to Copenhagen for that restaurant,
yeah,
would that be the farthest that you've traveled for a specific restaurant?
Oh yeah.
So far, what has been the farthest? Let's say in the U.S., like where have you traveled to simply to experience their food?
North Carolina, honestly.
All right,
it's pretty close.
It's not far because I guess I don't think of it as much because what I would like to do is go to Europe or go to a specific city and experience all the food and basically go on like a culinary vacation.
Yeah.
So if it was
business trip, it's for research.
Yeah, because if it's Copenhagen, there are so talent, brings on more talent. And so in Copenhagen, they're not the only starred restaurant in town. They also have started something called Poppelburger. I don't know, it's a Copenhagen thing. But they make their own burgers and veggie burgers and stuff. They basically did it for the pandemic, but it was so popular that it's a full-on restaurant now. and it's a better price point for more people to be able to try their food.
Like that quality of food, that like upper echelon.
Yeah.
Culinary
with
goodness.
quality ingredients, but it at the end of the day, labor and cost wise, it's less. So like the Inn at Little Washington, they just opened up. I think they had the bakery, but they just opened up. I would still consider it fine dining / fast casual. But you're still going to spend $50 for a tube, but it's not $500. And because I think when I was figuring on Copenhagen, like Noma would be $1,000 between tax, gratuity, and everything like that for my wife and I. And I mean, I wouldn't go to a place like that and not get the wine pairing. So it's like $300 plus another $100, $200, something like that for wine. They're one of the first fine dining, like 3-star restaurants to pair juices too. So they make their own juices and other non-alcoholic beverages and pair it with, and they do straight seasonally. So like a hunting kind of season where they do wild game and stuff, and then seafood and from the field, and and then fall harvest kind of deal. So that's most of the time that's how I like to cook as well. I like finding stuff locally that I either know and love or something that's new. Like I kind of grew up with ramps, but ramps are like a garlicky onion kind of flavor. And they're very coveted here in West Virginia and stuff. And most people just make salt with them. And I think one pizza place made like a ramp ranch. Or a lot of people have been making ramp ranches.
Hold on. What?
Ramp ranches.
What's a ramp?
Like a ramp is like a garlicky onion. It looks like a green onion at the bottom, and then it's got like a broad leaf.
Never seen one.
Yeah,
never seen one.
But it's very good, and I love all the mushroom places that have either mushroom spots in their woods or that they're cultivating.
There's money in fungus.
Oh, there's so much money in everything.
There's so much money in fungus.
From our coworkers was really into growing mushrooms for food, which was that's almost all I talked about. Is great.
I mean, it's like just like with urban farming, you can make a ton of money if you get even remotely good at it.
Is that something you thought about exploring, Aaron?
One of the many things I've thought of exploring.
All right, so the shorter list might be, what have you not thought about exploring?
A full-on restaurant.
No?
One of my goals...
You'd rather be mercenary?
Yeah, well, kind of. I like the restaurant kind of idea, but I've worked in so many that I'm like, I just don't like the hours. I don't like not being able to be out in the dining room, glad handing it with people, and like just sitting down and having a glass of wine with I could if I owned the place, but still I would, and at that point I would want to be back in the kitchen because I would want to make sure the food's good and make sure that the people aren't screwing it up or that I'm screwing it up.
Yeah,
quite frankly. But
so what is the business like? What is the business alternative to owning your own restaurant but still getting the same perks?
I'm gonna take a hack at it. Food truck.
I had a food truck menu planned when we lived in Lynchburg. It was going to be called Rapido. It was basically just going to be wraps, like Rapido, fast wraps, basically. I don't know.
Was it spelled Dough?
No, it was spelled R. Oh no, it was WRAPIDO.
So is that the alternative to owning a restaurant, or no?
It's an alternative.
An alternative. Okay. So what are the others?
Like my business is a personal chef business, so what I enjoy doing the most is I enjoy being in people's homes, going shopping for them, or using stuff that they already have in their refrigerator. Honestly, what really excites me is going into a place blind and just like, I'll bring my seasonings and I'll bring some sauces. I'll bring some, herbs or something, or something that I'm experimenting with, such as a butter or an oil or a hot sauce, something that can bring things together or make some ingredients a meal. And so I like just having free range and like opening up the cabinet, opening up the pantry, opening up the refrigerator, the freezer, whatever.
Have you done that before?
Yes.
How often have you found like jack shit in their pantry and like you have to
really
do some magic?
Hardly ever. It's usually at my father-in-law's house when that happens. So one Christmas they did like a chopped challenge basket basically for me. And so I could pretty much use what was in there. But before I was making snacks for them. And so he had like some tuna and an avocado or something. And so I made a quick ceviche while they went out and shopped.
I recently found out about tuna packets, and it has been a game changer.
Now, I hope you're talking about the sushi grade tuna packets.
No, these are like Lidl tuna packets.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about the sushi grade, like, bright red, frozen, instant, like IQF, which is instantly quick frozen, sushi grade tuna. Where
do you get that?
Anywhere. Kroger, Whole Foods.
I miss Kroger. I miss having a Kroger.
Kroger is, I'm an Ohio boy, so Kroger is my jam.
It was nice in Harrisonburg to have a Kroger.
Boy from southeastern Ohio.
Yep.
But yeah, so like I said, I like thinking on my feet. So I think for the chopped basket, they had potatoes and cilantro, avocado. So I know I ended up making like an Asian dish, but then I'd seen some people do it since then, but I made potato chip nachos. Those were just freaking ridiculous. Like,
ooh.
I think I had a pork chop or a pork loin as one of the ingredients that I used for the Asian stir fry, but I also used it in the nachos. And I literally he had like a crappy box grater or something, and sometimes I forget to bring my knives or my equipment and stuff if I don't know that I'm cooking fully.
How do you adapt your tools to something like that? Like, is it easy to make something like that up on the fly, or?
Mostly, and it just depends on, like, if they don't have any knives at all, obviously it's going to be hard for me to things. But
start breaking out the power tools.
Yeah, sometimes, like, I've used steak knives before to cut vegetables. I mean, one of the most MacGyver-y things I've ever done is, like, I made hotel room ceviche while we were on vacation.
Can you demystify that for us ignorant bastards?
I got fresh tuna off the boat from the boat dock in Wilmington.
A literal boat dock, nice.
We had got avocado, cilantro, limes, and I think red onions.
What's a ceviche?
Ceviche is just like where you cook fish, basically in acid.
Gotcha.
So the most traditional is like citrus.
Vinegar.
Yeah, vinegar, citrus. I hardly ever use vinegar. It just depends on the fish.
Especially lemon or lime, I thought.
Usually, yeah. So I literally put some other seafood on the grill outside because the hotel had like a little camping grill outside. So I did that and started that. And then before I did that, I started the ceviche because it takes a solid half hour, if not longer. It just depends on how cooked you want it. Because like, remembering that the quality of the seafood is great. And so I literally went to the little hotel. Wasn't a restaurant. They literally had like Jim Dean like breakfast sandwiches that you toast microwave or whatever.
Yeah.
But they had Texas Pete hot sauce. They had plastic knives and forks and spoons, and I think they had lemon juice packets as well. So I used the lemon juice packets for the seafood out on the grill. But I just chopped up the onion, the tuna, and kind of like diced it the best I could. And I think we had a takeout container, so I used the top of the takeout container and just put everything in, squeeze the lime juice. The hardest thing to cut was the lime, honestly, with the plastic.
With your little plastic knife.
I broke one or two of them.
But with a little know-how, you can cook just about anything in your hotel room.
But Texas Pete was like what I was proud of. I was like, oh yes, they even have Texas Pete, because sometimes I'll put hot sauce or something in it.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I like doing stuff like that. And
do you feel like secretly like a little proud of yourself for?
Oh yeah, very
being able to throw it together, something like that.
It's like the only time I use iodized salt, basically, because it was like I got salt and pepper packets, and I like.
Wait, you can get non-iodized salt,
sea salt.
Yeah, like not machine bleach.
You kind of made me speechless there, Nate.
Pink Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
There you go. I thought all salt was iodized.
No.
We're good on the iodine. We don't need it anymore. Just buy the big things of kosher salt. Like if I ever see kosher salt at Kroger on reduced price, I buy it. So I bought like 3 things of kosher salt for like 35 cents a box for like a 2-pound box.
Wow.
And so I got that to experiment with because I make smoked salt. And so I got one of those smoking guns for anniversary or birthday or something.
I just think really hard and smoke comes out.
Not the smoke I want to put in my salt.
Phil shaking his head now.
Probably smells more like flagellants.
Oh.
No, ginger.
Ginger, oh. Okay.
Ginger.
Salt could work.
Well, sweet. Aaron, we'd like to be a little respectful of your time, and all of this talk about food makes me want to go make dinner.
Okay.
But for those listening, what is your biggest piece of advice to someone that like wants to get into the culinary world, or like you can answer both of these if you want. Or like what is your biggest like life hack to make like cooking more enjoyable or tasty?
I will answer both. You might have to repeat the second part. But for people getting into the business, it's just go work. You don't need culinary school. I did a little bit of culinary school, but I learned a lot just from doing.
Tasting.
I watch
tasting, repeat.
Yeah. Do, taste, repeat. And just invite people over. Go cook for your friends. Go find a church potluck. There's people aren't doing it as much, but
have you ever wedding crashed a church potluck?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I've done that once or twice.
You're going on a walk.
But I'm not
people up back with their tables.
I just kind of go leave the dish over there, and I just kind of sneak away. So that's for. Did
anybody turn in a brown crock pot, not knowing whose it was at the end of the go back the next day?
Like the best dish I've ever tasted. I don't know about that potato salad. That looks a little sketchy, but I don't know what this was or who made it.
Guerrilla warfare in the church potluck industry.
Well, yeah, some churches.
This is enlightening to me.
Where it's been like they are kind of serious with especially with their dessert. They always go get pie and dessert first. And so
it's always some weird form of Jello.
Oh no, like ambrosia.
No, not a fan.
That is one dish that I would never make unless like that'd be one challenge that I would probably not take.
Getting somebody to like
And then,
Jello.
like, the life hack is just keeping it simple. Always taste your food. Always season your food. Everything, and always put salt and pepper on tomatoes. Always, if depending on what you're doing, you can get finishing salt. There's a company called or it's a type of salt called Malden, and they kind of look like pyramids almost when you look at it with a microscope or whatever. But it's just like something that people put on chocolates or on a steak or something, so I got a big batch of that, and I'm going to make some smoked salt and sell that and do different.
So bacon aside, what is something people can add to their food to like give it a facelift? What is something you, aside from like seasoning, like what would you like?
Making sure your pan's hot enough.
Dude, so we were making breakfast yesterday, and I had my sausages on the pan, and like I'd heated the pan up ahead of time so that when I hit it, I could sear it a little bit. It took me like 15 minutes to realize I had it on the wrong burner. Like Bruna looked at me, she's like, that like wow. I was like, why is that burner hot? And then I looked up at the knob on the oven.
Real quick, I remembered one of the other questions about it was around the faux pas question, but one of the craziest things I've ever made. And when I lived in Lynchburg, I got hired to do a little catering for the godparent home, which is like a home for unwed mothers. Like they just kind of live there until their baby comes out, and it's like an adoption program basically. So I think I did spaghetti and meatballs, but I had asked them to give me something for dessert that would be, like a challenge. So they said potatoes and berries. So I made a cheesecake with potatoes. So I took out, I didn't add any, sometimes you add flour, sometimes you don't for cheesecakes. But basically the starch and the mashed, I just boiled the potatoes and peeled and stuff. And then
how'd it turn out?
Mashed them till they were smooth. It was really good. And then I made like a berry compote to put on top. That was easy, but it had like an earthy kind of flavor, but it was super good. And I made like a little compote to go on top.
Did you remember how to make it? Because that sounds awesome.
I could probably still make it because once upon a time, cheesecakes was my standard for catering desserts. I made that for my cousin's wedding.
Can't go wrong with the cheesecake. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. So,
well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on.
Nerding out about food with us. And
I hope everyone listening is starving.
Go get checked for type 2 diabetes, like immediately. Just auditory type 2 diabetes, just like.
People have smell-o-vision. You got the diabetes vision.
Smell-o-vision.
Diabetes just by listening to this podcast with Aaron Wilson.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, everybody. Stay hungry. Stay creative. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. Aaron. Oh, hold on, everybody. Aaron,
what's that on your chest? What's that on your chest there, buddy? Could you?
Where can
this is a Seasoned Delight logo made by Mr. Nate down there.
Down there? Where am I on your screen?
Well, you're down on the bottom.
In my bottom, bitches.
In social media land, where can people find your stuff? Because I know they want to check that food out.
So Instagram, it's Seasoned Delight is my handle. And the website is seasoneddelight.com. And you can email me at seasoneddelight@gmail.com. My business
for all of your catering needs.
So I do anything. I do smaller weddings. So 100 people is what I can do right now. If it's more than that, with enough notice, I could do it because I would just have to collect the people to do it with me. But right now, it's just mostly my wife and I, and she kind of tastes things and helps me out with just balancing flavors and different things, and we come up with, she's my taste tester when I'm trying to do new things.
Phil, I want him to help us roast a pig for our 30th.
Yes,
that's right.
Now,
I would love to roast a pig. That's something I haven't done.
Yeah, Phil and I's birthday is a day apart, so it's a weekend in October, and I really want to have a pig roast.
The pig, the bourbon, the beer,
and this time I won't be
bag or something.
3 sheets to the wind.
Please don't.
Yeah, dude, this last birthday we had, it was a bad time.
Okay, thank you, Chef. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Love you.
My name's Chef. Thanks for hanging out.